just get shit house.
So they can't do that anymore.
Oh,
so that's why I think we see more blocks too.
And then we could probably say, well, that's probably a rule change because damn. That was a fuck show. They lined up 4 guys over 1 and just kicked the shit out of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just gotta sit there and take it. Sucked.
I agree.
Plant your foot in the ground, put your hand down, and fucking just try to. It was never fun. I never enjoyed it. All right. I'm ready when you are.
All right. Sounds good. Well, let's get going. Welcome back to another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
And Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way in Eau Claire. Pizza Del Rey has the best pizza in the state of Wisconsin, in our opinion. They also have a pizza buffet and frozen pizzas, so you can get all the pizza that your stomach wants at Pizza Del Rey. And we got dogs in the house today that are constantly going over the wires like it's an obstacle course. But we are here to talk Badgers and Packers in this episode. We're doing a recap of this past weekend's games. The Badgers took on Northwestern in Northwestern's temporary stadium, which is interesting. It's right next to their practice facility, their workout room, which is right over Lake Michigan. It's a beautiful view, but I didn't even realize this till my kids pointed it out. I thought it was a permanent stadium. It's their practice field that they brought bleachers into.
I didn't know that either.
I know. I should have brought this up before we started the show, but I think there was only maybe 17,000 fans in the crowd because of that. So
are they building a newer stadium?
So I got it somewhere in the notes. And once again, we should have talked about this before we started the show. But yes, they're in the works of building a stadium. It's going to be open, I believe, in 2026. Okay. So the remainder of this year, I think this was the final game on their practice field. They have 2 more home games that they're actually playing in Wrigley. Oh, no. So I think they're playing Ohio State and Illinois in Wrigley Field. Then I don't know what they're doing next year, but I believe the new stadium opens, and what is it called? I think it's called Wrigley Stadium, not Wrigley. Wrigley Field is the baseball field. I think they're calling it Wrigley Stadium or something along those lines with a Chicago term. But nice game. We got to win 23-3 against Northwestern. It was one of those, wasn't pretty, but a win's a win, just like Coach Fickle said. But going through it, what I liked about it, our run game was consistent. Tawi Walker, where are the stats here? Tawi Walker ran for 126 yards on, I believe, 28 carries. And that's going back to Wisconsin football, like you and I always say.
I agree. Kind of nice to see that. You know, it's kind of been, I wouldn't say lacking, but I think he's been a nice little addition, and I know he's been there. And then when you have Ches Maluzzi that stepped away from football, and again, I don't really know the whole context of that.
Basically because
of
health reasons.
And I understand that.
Which was a big hit to the program because he was a Wisconsin running back.
Absolutely.
And Tawi Walker definitely is showing spurts that he's going to be the next Wisconsin running back, and he already is. But yeah, that was a big hit seeing Maluzzi lose.
And if you also think about the offense too, you have a quarterback that wasn't starting this year.
Correct.
You had Van Dyke that got hurt, and you have Locke.
A Locke.
Locke?
Yes.
Him coming
Andrew
in.
Locke. Locke.
Coming in and, performing well, and at least we are moving in the right direction.
He is. We had a couple turnovers this week, but for the most part, he's making smart decisions as a quarterback. And that's what you want from a young quarterback, from a new quarterback, is don't turn the ball over. Just run the program. Do what's expected out of a Wisconsin program, and that's what he's been doing so far. So that's definitely been nice to see. Special teams, though, this week, special teams and defense. I think that was a big standout in this week's game because our offense, the previous 2 weeks, we were churning. Put a lot of points up on the board. We rushed the ball like crazy the previous 2 weeks. And this week, we got off to a rough start. We had a turnover early in the game, but our defense stepped up for us. And I think grade-wise, they got an A-. I'd give them 3 pluses on top of that because they stood up when we struggled putting points on the board. We held Northwestern to next to nothing. I believe it was held them to nothing in the first half. But special teams, going back to Coach Alvarez, this is what we always knew. It's a game of field position, and especially with punters. And our punter, he's just been lights out for the Wisconsin Badgers. He really has been changing the field position, and that field position's for a whole half. So when you punt the ball down to a 1 yard line and have Northwestern start from the 1, that just changes the outcome of the game.
And you think about the pendulum of in the momentum of the game. the punter has the ability to change the momentum of a game with a kick.
Yes.
I mean, if your offense is struggling and you're 3 and out, punter comes in and can, like you said, pin them down within the 5 yard line. Like, even though you're struggling as an offense, which I recall times when we were struggling, um, just having the punter be able to change the momentum of the game, give us a break, and get us a chance to regroup on the sidelines, get a game plan. What are we seeing? What are we doing wrong? So kudos to him.
I felt, before we touch more on kickers, I felt bad that I did not recall his name. Atticus Bertrams is our punter's name. I just think Atticus is a phenomenal first name. But yeah, that's a Wisconsin Badger punter. The nice thing, he's a sophomore, still got 2 years left. That's going to be huge for our program. Me and you both know you have to win a football game, you have to win all 3 phases. And the last 3 weeks, including the Northwestern game, we really performed in all 3 phases, and that helped us get the win. But I think we both want to touch on kickers a little. We had some phenomenal kickers at Wisconsin. We'll mention them all.
And I think our freshman year started out with John Hall. I mean,
putting it through the uprights on kickoff.
John Hall kind of established the kicking at Wisconsin. He would hit guys, would go down on
yes,
being on
lay his body out.
Yes, he would. But then you're right, putting it through the uprights on kickoffs was pretty unbelievable. And then that kind of set the tone. And then we had Money Matt Davenport, and then we had Kevin Stemke was our punter.
Kevin Stemke. And of course, the Russian.
Vitaly Pazetsky was very good too. What I loved about them was they were able to perform. Yes. What I didn't love about them is when we're getting our asses kicked in 3-a-days or in season, and we're out there in the middle of it, and every day just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And I remember a couple times that they were just kind of hanging out. They would come out for stretching. They would come out for special teams at the beginning of practice, and then you didn't see them. Yeah. And they were in the indoor McLean facility practicing. I got to think a lot of times they were probably sitting down on those other couches watching some TV while we were upstairs getting our asses kicked.
Absolutely. Well, I got 2 stories about kickers, and it both revolves around Kevin Stemke, who was our phenomenal punter at Wisconsin. So one, when we were both in Green Bay in 2001, Kevin and I, both in training camp. We roomed together in the dorms, and then Kevin, born and raised in Green Bay, but he didn't want to go back and live with mom and dad during training camp. So he goes, could I move in with you, with me and my wife at the time? And we had a 2-bedroom apartment. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So the first thing was, I come home from practice, and this is the NFL now, so it's a business. You're getting to the stadium at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and on a typical night, you're not getting home till 8 o'clock at night, maybe even 10 o'clock at night, depending on film study. Well, Stemke's getting back to my apartment at, say, 6:30 because they don't have film study. And I walk in the one night at 9:30 at night, heads pounding, body sore as could be, and he's playing the guitar for my wife. And my wife's just picking out songs, and he's just playing songs and singing.
And serenading your wife?
Yeah. I go, it must be nice to just strum the guitar. And he did the same thing in the dorms, too. While me and him are in the dorms, he's like, you mind if I play the guitar? And I'm like, I have a headache. I need to go to sleep ASAP. I'm like chugging Gatorade, trying to hydrate, trying to get rid of the headache. And I'm like, this alarm is going off the second I fall asleep. No. If you want to play the guitar, go outside. Like, bed check's not for an hour and a half. Now, we did have fun. You'll remember our first gift in college, totally different than players now. We got the TV VCR combo from the Kickoff Classic. Yep. I brought that to Green Bay Packers training camp, and I had a VHS of Seinfeld episodes, and we would just go to bed watching Seinfeld every night. So that was the enjoyable thing. But the other thing about kickers, I asked him that we're in training camp. We're practicing on the front field on Oneida Street, which is the opposite now. Now they practice on the back field. They have the bleachers. But back then, we practiced in the front. They put the bleachers right on Oneida Street. And once we started doing 9-on-7 team, all that, the kickers would go inside. So I go to STEM. I go, what are you guys doing there? Do you guys kick for like 2.5 hours? Right. And he started laughing. He's like, you don't want to know. And I go, what do you do? He goes, come inside to use the bathroom tomorrow. So tomorrow we're in practice. 9-on-7 gets done. We were going to one-on-one pass rush. I knew I had like about a minute. Mm-hmm. So I run inside to take a leak. Joe, I go in there. Every single kicker has a bag of golf clubs. And they're working on their 9-irons, their 7-irons, their pitching wedges. I go, you got to be shitting me.
Yeah.
They knew a time when the horn blew for special teams. They'd be out on the field. They'd go through the special teams, which was like a 15-minute period.
Yep.
and then they'd go back in. They had their clubs, with the legs out on their bag, just pulling out different clubs, just hitting balls. One guy would be down there fielding the balls, bringing them back. I'm like, I'm bleeding.
Yep.
My bones are sore. My head is aching.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are working on your 9-iron.
And isn't it crazy what you said earlier? You came home from practice, your head is hurting. You probably have ice packs on you.
Yeah.
You're worrying about hydration, which is something that I
absolutely
still have to friggin'
go back to those cramp stories we talked about.
Absolutely. And in your preparation for the following day, because once you get home, you're doing prep work.
Yep.
I remember having to stretch after practices in our rooms in order for me to be able to perform. Otherwise, I'm going to be so freaking stiff. I'm not going to be able to walk in the morning. So yes, headaches, ice packs, trying to get extra treatments in for dings and bruises or whatever. And you come home and
you're trying to study while you're stretching too. Yeah, because tomorrow something new's being put in or whatever. Yep. Yeah, just absolute nonsense. But overall, it was a good game. Now the thing, and we're honest here. We don't mince words. We're not negative people. We're the biggest Badger supporters in the world because that's still our family. Yep. But we're honest about stuff. Mm-hmm. We had 3 games against 3 teams that, in the moment, they said Rutgers was supposed to have a good rushing attack. Mm-hmm. Rutgers was also supposed to have good defense. It did not appear that way. Northwestern was supposed to have a good defense. Mm-hmm. Did not really appear that way. So there are 3 games that I don't feel we could say. There's a lot of reports. The Badgers have turned the corner. Now, granted, did it build our confidence? Yes. Yeah, it does. Did it help us moving forward? Yes. But there's a lot of questions. And next week, we have number 3 Penn State coming to Camp Randall.
And, you build on the program, and we talked about this the last time. We have new coaches, 2 years old. We have a new quarterback. We have a new running back that's playing now. It's so freaking hard to win in college football. So, yes, applaud the wins. Build on that momentum. But I still think, that we have a long way to go. We have a huge test coming up this weekend, and Penn State is no joke. They're never no joke. Yeah. They are the real deal. Yeah. And
it's a Big Ten team, and it's a Big Ten team ranked number 3 in the country. Yeah. And they've proved, and it's for farther enough in the season where they've played good games. They've proven they're a top 5 team. And the only advantage we have is 1, it's at home. Mm-hmm. 2, I believe it's somewhat of a night game. I think it's a 6:30 start. So that's a positive for us, having that home field advantage. But me and you both know, you got those 11 guys that are on the field every single time. They have to perform. Yep. It comes down to who's on the field. And like we tell the fans that listen, the coaches got to make the right calls. Coaches can't make mistakes. They got to manage the clock. They got to manage what teams and what formation groups they're putting on the field. Mm-hmm. But the players have to play. The players are going to win the game or lose the game.
Absolutely. And like I said, we are rooting for them all the time. We want them to do great things. I hope that they put up a tremendous effort against Penn State. I hope we beat Penn State. And then we'll talk about turning the corner at that point in time. But I don't think we've been tested. I mean,
exactly. We were tested early, and we didn't produce.
No, we didn't produce.
Correct. So, and I think we're a different team now than we were against Alabama and we were against USC. Mm-hmm. But we need to show, because, and honestly, I think Penn State's a lot better of a team than Alabama and USC were.
I agree.
And for everybody listening in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I'm 46 years old, and I still fucking hate Penn State. So just another reason I hope the Badgers destroy them.
And did you want to go into why you hate Penn State so much?
I think we talked about it early. They did not offer me a scholarship, did not want me one bit, and let alone they had a pedophile on the coaching staff. So for every reason, Penn State sucked, and they still suck. So that's just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. But the last big play we wanted to talk about with the Badger game. You want to start us off?
It would be the strength coach. Good for him.
Brady Collins
made a bet that he'd jump in Lake Michigan if they won, and it seemed like right after the game, I was watching the game at the end, and I didn't really follow like what was going on. All of a sudden, everybody sprinting out the field, and I'm like, okay, and I didn't catch that. At that point in time, I had things to do, and then I saw the highlight. But good on him.
So there was a lot of things I didn't understand. One, I didn't understand why he did it. So it basically was because Northwestern came into Camp Randall, and they abused us last year. We weren't ready for it. They were ready, and they smoked us in Camp Randall. So that's why he laid the bet initially to get the momentum. But number two, I totally forgot that the field is right next to Lake Michigan.
I had no
so I
idea.
see these guys chasing them in shoulder pads, and I'm like, did they drive a bus to Lake Michigan before they went to the locker room or anything? So yeah, it was it was wild. It was exciting. Good for the team. Good for morale. We're going to show the video here.
He's like, yeah, you can do it.
But yeah, great end to a Badger victory in Illinois.
Very, very good.
Hey Joe, it's November. What's the drink of the month at Cabin Coffee Altoona?
This month is the gingerbread cabin mocha.
Ooh, is that made with real gingers?
We tried. They kept on trying to steal us sold the recipe.
What's it really made with then?
Gingerbread syrup, dark chocolate, and 2 shots of espresso, steamed milk of your choice, whipped cream.
Sounds good. I'll give it a try next time at Cabin Coffee Altoona.
Watch out for those gingers.
So with that being said, we are going to move on to the Packers. And another similar game. It was just all-around weekend where both the Badgers and Packers, I don't think there was anything huge standout. Neither one of them had blowout wins like they've had in the past, but they got a win. And like me and you said, it is both at any level in the game of football, it is hard to get a win. So if you get a win, you're going to be happy with it. You're going to build on the success you had, but you're also going to correct the mistakes week after week and continue to get better. The Packers, they did have some turnovers. Similar to the Badgers, the defense stood up in that game. It was a huge game for the defense. They kept the offense in it. It was a tight game. Jordan Love started with some issues, with some turnovers, but he finished in that 2-minute drill, got us in the position to kick a field goal to win the game.
Very true. And then you talk about, too, we got rid of our punter, our kicker from the last time, and we hired a veteran, and he came through in the clutch and had the game-winning field goal, which is phenomenal. And again, we just talked about kickers earlier. You have one freaking job. Yep. That's it. And again, I like kickers, so I'm not ripping on kickers because we had some phenomenal kickers.
Yes.
However, you have one job. That is all you do.
Yep.
That's it. Every day, all day. That's it. You're not getting your ass kicked. You're not battling really injuries as much as offensive line, defensive line, in every other position. You aren't getting physically abused. So again, you have one job, and then you're telling me that take it serious, man. Like, that's your one job, and you never know when you have to go through and kick that game-winning field goal. And we can talk about horrible kickers in the past who lost games for, let's just say, the Buffalo Bills back in the 90s. I think his name is Scott Elwood.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, that guy's never going to live that down.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Now, the one thing I'll say in kickers' defense is, and I did not learn this until my rookie year in the NFL because I spent so much time with Kevin Stemke. Well, obviously, we were friends in college, but after rooming with him all of training camp and being with him all off season, what I did learn was, as an offensive lineman or any other position on the field, we get roughly 50 to 60 plays. So if we make a mistake or two, we could still grade out at an A minus, a B plus.
Agree.
If a kicker makes 2 mistakes, he's on the verge of getting benched, if not benched, cut.
Right.
And it's sad, especially, for the hometown state, you feel for the team, you feel for the players. It's sad to see somebody get cut, but like me and you said, it's a job. And when you mess up that job with how many kicks that previous kicker missed, you just can't do that. And where they were smart, they brought in a vet. I think he was 11-year vet, and Brandon McManus, 11-year pro, yes. And you even see in that game, I think he had 3 extra points leading up to the field goal. And the first field goal he made had to be a game-winning field goal. They actually iced him. They got the timeout, kicked it, made it. And that's sometimes questionable. It's 50-50. Is he going to make it a second time? Because me and you both know whether you're playing a team twice in a row, it's always difficult to get that win the second time around. But he ended up making it just like a vet would.
Hey, so let me ask you this, because I don't know the answer to this. In the NFL, is the long snapper also is he doing anything besides long snapping, or is that all he does?
For the most, in the NFL, that's all he does. So in college, most long snappers are like backup tight ends, backup linebackers. The NFL, he's just long snapping. But you brought up another valid point. Before the show started, we were talking about the push on extra point and field goal went for the block team pushing against us protecting. And the difference, and we could both touch on it, is when we were in college, one guy, whether it's me on the left side or you on the right side or vice versa, we'd have three guys over us, one in the middle, one on each shoulder. Then you'd have three pushers. Yeah. So you'd have roughly 1,000 to 1,200 pounds pushing on you. That is no longer allowed. You're not allowed to have pushers. And here's the other kicker. And I'm not 100% positive. I believe this is in college, but I know the NFL. You're not even allowed to touch the long snapper. Right. You can't touch him.
No,
you can't put a hand on his shoulder.
Wow.
Where think about it, they put the head up guy in the gap, a guy on the long snapper shoulder, guy on our inside shoulder, three pushers. The game when Warren Sapp knocked Chad Clifton out of the game, I was a backup, got put in immediately on extra point and field goal because Chad's out. They rearranged the O-line. I didn't get on the O-line, but I got on special teams. And of course, new guy, rookie, boom, they put everybody. I got Warren Sapp head up on me. And I got I forget their names right now, but the two phenomenal defensive end Tampa Bay had on each side of me and all three of their linebackers pushing. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to take Sapp head on, grab each one of the DNs with my hands, and they bowled me backwards. But I'm like, I'm pulling all 60 down.
Right.
They didn't block the kick. I'm like, you're coming to the ground with me. Grabbing your outside shoulder, pulling you in, and just boom, let's all three go down. We're already staying low.
Right.
So it's not like they're jumping and I'm standing up straight. We're low. They pushed me. I knew I was going. So I'm like, bring them with me.
It's such a shitty feeling when you're down there and
there's nothing you can do. You're taking one step and that whole bullshit, put your arm out, put this on, and try and brace.
You try to brace. Stick one foot in the ground, you got 1,000 pounds, and you know it's coming.
Yeah.
It's like waiting for a train and you know it's going to come, and all you can do is just do the best you can, and you're going to get your ass kicked and blown up. I'm happy to see that the long snappers are no longer getting blown up because, that's kind of a vulnerable spot where you have your head between your legs and just getting electrocuted.
And they're not taking a step.
Right.
They might bounce their feet back a little when they snap, but
otherwise they
got nothing bracing. And that reminds me too, with extra points and field goals, they're always coming no matter what point of the game. But it makes me laugh at during a victory when you're taking a knee, that conversation between O-line, D-line.
Right.
You coming?
Yep.
And they're like, no, for real? You coming?
Yeah.
No, you're not coming? And you got to look them in the eye. And we early on in the podcast, we showed the clip of Dave Costa in the Rose Bowl when the safety from UCLA came. Everybody else took a step, stood up. We started shaking hands, and the safety went over the top, and Dave pile drived them into the ground. But you literally got to look that guy in the eye across from you and be like, are you coming?
Are you coming?
When he says no, you got to be like, is he being honest or, because they're still getting in their stance. You're like, how much pressure is he putting on his hand? Do you see the white knuckles or do you see blood in his hand? Is he going to step? Then when he steps, you're like, thank you. Good game. Then everybody, all right, the game's over. The intensity's down. You congratulate guys, but you never know. I've had guys do both. I've had guys say no and come, and you still got to brace just in case.
Yeah.
You do that split second brace. All right, he's not coming. Stand up and give the hug. But back to the Packers. Overall, very good. Mm-hmm. Kickers, I think, special teams, I don't know what they graded out at, but it should have been an A. Because we talked earlier about the Badgers with field position. Mm-hmm. I think the punter helped Daniel Whelan, I believe how you pronounce his last name, field position. That's why I wrote down next to his name. That definitely helped with the Packer game. The kicker coming through with the field goal at the end, that was huge. Now the offense, yes, we got to step that up. We can't have those turnovers. Jordan Love, we're seeing tons of potential in his future, but we can't be turning the ball over. Defense-wise, we played CJ Stroud, and they locked him down. Yeah. That's a top-notch quarterback there, and the defense performed well. We got to keep proving that on defense that we're able to do that, and I think we're going to keep having
And I
success.
think the highlight of the whole freaking weekend is that stupid state to the west.
Yes.
Give them a loss.
Yes.
I'm so tired of hearing about them already. Exactly. All the freaking, check out whatever the purple team, we'll call them.
I hear you.
And so I'm happy that they lost because it just warms my soul a little bit.
One other thing I'll bring up now that we've talked about both Badgers and Packers, just something going on in football with injuries. Mm-hmm. We saw Hutchinson go down from the Detroit Lions. Now, granted, that was I believe it was a leg whip.
Yeah, it was a leg whip, and that's again having to have had a serious injury in football. Yeah. When I watched that, I relive. I could feel it. Yeah. Like watching that replay, and I know they didn't show it, but of course I saw it. But yeah, I felt that happened.
Absolutely. But where I'm getting at, though, with Hutchinson, there's nothing you can do about that. That's a play that happens. But now you look at some of the other plays just this weekend, and I don't know all their names, but Tampa Bay had Mike Evans, the receiver, he went down with a hamstring,
right?
Probably out for the rest of the season.
Yep.
They had another, I believe, receiver go down with a dislocated ankle, probably out for the season.
Yep.
And then the Browns, and there's two things about this. Deshaun Watson, I think, went down with an Achilles, same as Aaron Rodgers, most likely out for the season.
Right.
When he got in, so two things. First, I'll start with those injuries on Tampa Bay and the Browns. Mark my words. This is a weird thing, but it happens in the NFL. I bet you any amount of money, both those strength coaches get fired at the end of the season. In the NFL, strength coaches are not about making the team stronger. So many players have their own strength guy. Like you look at the top elite franchise players. They don't necessarily work out with the team, let alone they don't do the team workout. And we talked about in earlier episodes how Green Bay, it's do this or do this or do this. You choose. Strength coaches don't want to put onus on this was my program, because as soon as somebody gets hurt, that means it's their fault. Right. And that's the easiest guy to say, oh, we solved the injury problem. We fired the strength coach. We have a new strength coach coming in that's going to change and it just sort of like wipes away any conversation about that. So I wouldn't be surprised if both those strength coaches are fired. Okay. Now that it's Deshaun Watson, they were chanting, you deserve it. Yeah. As he goes, and I'm just like, I don't even know how to think about it.
And it was your home fans too.
It was the Browns fans. And I mean, there's fans out there, the Browns, the Giants, the Jets. There's certain fans out there that they don't give a shit.
Right?
They'll cross the line and they'll boo Eagles fans, New Orleans Saints fans with the paper bags over their head. There are certain fans that don't give a shit and they'll let you know how they feel. But I'm like, you deserve it after an injury. You know, like to me, it's like, and granted, Deshaun Watson has a freaking suitcase full of drama that he brought. So there's why did they give him that much money? Why, after being out of football, I think he was out of football for 2 years, or at least a season, if not 2 seasons, when they gave him that contract. It was a stupid contract with the guarantee. I think next year he's affecting the salary cap next year, $75 million against the Browns. And he might not even play. Yeah. You know, could be career ending for all we know. But if he was benched, I could see the fans chanting, you deserve it.
Right.
An Achilles tear, which is going to end the season, possibly his career. I don't know. I mean,
granted.
And he gets paid a ton of money, so you need to deal with that stuff.
You have to look, too. I mean, the suitcase full of drama, I mean, that's coming to a fruition here. And again,
I feel you.
So you think that you would have your home support at home if you got hurt, but apparently not, like I said.
But and like we said, those teams, they don't give a fuck. Right. I mean, I know when I was a kid, I think it was the Giants were throwing snowballs at Santa Claus on the field. I'm trying to think it was either Giants or Jets. They would put batteries inside of snowballs and, you know, like just to make shit hurt more.
You know,
I mean, throwing
shit
shit
sound like the typical asshole East Coast.
It is the East Coast. That is the way the East Coast is. I mean,
they probably did it in Scranton at the high school games. I
mean, we definitely cheered different than you're allowed to cheer now. I'll tell you that much. Maybe I'll even throw a picture of that. I think I have it on a computer. It was after I was done, but a basketball game showing our basketball gymnasium did not have a lot of space. And it's basically a guy trying to inbound the pass and people leaning out of the bleachers, like hovering over the court, screaming in the guy's face. So I'll try and see if I can find that to throw it up. If not, we'll get it up eventually. But yeah, I don't know. Some teams fans are, I mean, now here's the difference. Packer fans, and I experienced this because when I played for the Packers, I went out after games. You go to a bar, you go to a restaurant, and you'd run into fans from other teams. And they'd come up to us as players, knowing we were players, because you'd have a bunch of big guys standing around, and just say to us, your fans are amazing here. Because that's the thing. You walk through, okay, let's look at, you go through Oakland's parking lot before or after a game, you might get shot or stabbed. Yeah. It happens. Once a year, there's a shooting or a stabbing at Oakland, at San Diego, you know, at certain stadiums, there are gunfire and knives attacking people. Green Bay, you walk through as an opposing fan, you might get offered venison, bear meat. I've heard people being like, I walked through and somebody offered me bear meat. I'm like, that's the way Packer fans are. They just want you to hang out, have a good time. For the most part, you rarely ever hear of a bad thing happening with Packer fans. They're just out there enjoying themselves. Yeah, they're drinking a lot, they're eating a lot, but everyone's having a good time.
I think the last thing I want to hit on is you sent me a text that Tua might be
Yes, I'm
Did
glad
you
you brought
verify
that up
that?
well, I just said it on ESPN. So I saw an interview with him that he said he's coming back.
Right.
He said, now here's where me and you could dig a little bit more into it. He said he did not even consider not coming back.
Mhm.
Now, granted, he has to say that because if he comes back, his team has to know he's back 100%.
Right.
He can't say, well, I was 50-50 and, at the last minute, I thought this is why I want to come. If his teammates and his coaches know that there was any doubt, you're never going to forget that doubt. I mean, I couldn't play with a quarterback that I thought had any doubt in any situation. You have to have the utmost confidence that they're 100% ready to go. But like he said, he goes, hey, we all go to work in the morning. We're all taking a risk getting in a car, which is very true. I mean, there is a risk. Now, granted, his percentages, I think, are higher because of his past with injuries. But at the same time, too, I mean, he's an adult. He's doing what he wants to do. Me and you have talked about we would do it over again 1,000%.
So I'm going to ask you a question. If you're Tua right now and you're at this stage in his career, knowing what we know about concussions now and maybe even feeling some of the effects of concussions at age 47 and 46.
46, I'm a year old.
Would you do it again?
I think that's a tougher question to answer than the injuries. I think the injuries and the beat up body and the back and the neck and the surgeries, I think that's an easy, yeah, absolutely. Okay. I think concussion, I think if I didn't have a family, I think I'd say, yeah, 100%. I think the family thing, knowing, I think almost everybody has experienced Alzheimer's in their life. I experienced it with my grandmother who lived in our house, so I experienced it firsthand. And what I saw my mom go through, what we went through, all those changes, you feel bad being like, I don't want to bring that upon my family. So I think that would be the challenging thing. What about you? I mean,
well, I think about setting my family up for success, and obviously,
as we end the podcast here, our fans, the dog pound here, I think they're a little pissed off about Deshaun Watson.
I hear you. I would have to say that again. I'm looking at the longevity and generationally of my family. I'm not even sure if generationally is a freaking word, but I'm going to use it.
Irregardlessly,
I'm going to freaking use the word. Again, it's the window for the NFL is so small. It's such a short time to make the amount of money.
Yep.
And I know it's a risk. And I probably would just suit my ass back up there and fucking go and do it.
And I agree with everything you said, but here now I'm going to throw a wrench in your plan.
Yep.
I don't know Tua's contract situation, but I bet you he's made close to $100 million already.
Okay.
So when you say set your family up, he sort of has already. So that's where I think that now as a lineman, if you're making league minimum, if you were like me making league minimum, so in that scenario, if you're saying Bill Ferrario during his time in the NFL making league minimum, 100%, without a doubt. Now, once you say I'm Tua and I go, well, if I've already made $100 million, I might have $50 million in the bank. I own my house and all my property outright.
Right.
That
if you're smart with your money, let's face it.
Correct.
If you're just blowing money and going to the club and making it rain and doing all the other stupid shit.
But here's now let's look at those two situations. A Tua, I do believe he's smart with his money, just seeing the type of character guy he is. Right. So I think he's set financially. The guy that you just mentioned that's going to the club, spending money, wasting money, say he does play 5 more years. Is he going to save more money or is he going to waste more money? So I don't know. It's a double-edged sword. It's a tough question to answer, but it's a serious question. And I think there's going to be 10 million eyes on Tua moving forward because they're looking at him possibly being able to go this Sunday. There's a couple more tests that he has to take, that he has to pass, which I guess he feels confident. Doctors feel confident he's going to be able to do it. But I think a lot of eyes are going to be on him every hit. Even just think of defensive linemen. The way the game has changed where when we played, it was attack him, kill him, put him through the ground. Where now when guys are sacking a quarterback, like think about sacking Tom Brady. You can't hit him in the knees. Right. So you got to be thinking that in about 2.5 seconds. Can't hit him in the knees. Can't hit him in the head. Can't bury him with my shoulder. Now, all these D linemen, I guarantee, are going to have another thought. It's Tua. Am I going to end his career?
Yeah, true.
Think about Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor wanted to murder people. Yeah. But that hit on Theismann
broke his leg.
Still affects him today.
Yeah.
He still thinks about that hit. He wasn't thinking about it as the hit was happening. But post that hit, how many 40 years later probably, that's still a thought in his head. So I guarantee defensive linemen, as they're about to take Tua to the ground, it's going to be a thought going through their head. Are they going to ease up? Are they going to try and take him out? I don't know.
Maybe depends on the person. And at the time, I don't know if I was defensive lineman, how I'm wired. I don't think I would think about it. I would just do it.
During our time, I agree.
I would just do it.
I agree. And that's where people don't understand the ins and outs of football.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you hear the best thing. My best takeaway was the Greg Williams speech with the Bounty Gate. Remember Bounty Gate with New Orleans?
Mm-hmm.
So I listened to because somebody recorded it in the locker room. I listened to it, and we should air that one of these days, or do a quick podcast on that, just where we air it, we talk about it. Joe, did you ever listen to it?
I'm trying to think back.
Here's the deal.
We're going to
listen to it
exactly.
We're going to listen to it, and we're going to do a podcast on it, and maybe we do it today. It got me so fired up. And listening to it today, I go, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
If a guy says I'm healthy to play, and Greg Williams' talk was, well, let's test him. Let's hit him. Let's put him in the ground. That's football.
I agree.
Football's a violent, physical sport. And if you're saying you're going to play, that means you're not injured. That's clear as day. For me, my last game I played with Carolina, last game I played in the NFL, I had a torn calf muscle. And I basically rehabbed it for 6 weeks, tried to come back as opposed to doing surgery, which hindsight, that's one regret I have during football. I should have taken surgery. I would have been on IR for the year, got a whole year's salary. I said, I'm the type of guy that fights through things. I'm going to fight through it. Right. In the last game of preseason, they put me in for one series on the field. I think I was in for 3 plays. We did a 3 and out, come off the field. They cut me the next day. The reason they put me in that game is now I can't say I was injured. You can't cut, because if I was injured and they cut me, I get to sue them for an injury grievance, and I'd probably get 75% of my salary for that year. Okay. But that I was in for 3 plays, they go, well, you weren't injured. You played. If you were injured, why would you go in the game? That's the way the business side of it works. If you play, you are not injured in the NFL.
Do you have any, like, when you're playing in the NFL, obviously you have an agent. Yeah. Is your agent telling
we went back and forth on it.
Is he telling you? So
early on, and
conversation
I'll give my agent credit. Early on, he said do surgery.
Okay.
And I said no because, remember, I think it was the end of Ron's career, right before he broke the record. I sprained my ankle really bad against Purdue. I thought I broke my ankle. It was that bad. And I was just like, fuck it. No, the reason I've had success is because I'm always there. Well, except for one practice. I'm at every practice.
One fucking practice, Bill.
I'm at every practice, every game.
The fucking practice.
I know, the practice. But that's what made me who I was. So by the time the NFL came, I go, if I sit out, there was that one part that goes, there's the money, the guaranteed for the year. But I was thinking long term. Right, I was I'm fighting for a position. I'm fighting to try and be a starter here. Right. If I sit out, what if they draft somebody next year? What if they trade for somebody next year? So, my agent early on was fighting, do the surgery. Do the surgery, you'll be recovered in a month or 2, and you'll get a year's salary, which was my last year playing, which was the largest amount of salary through my career because it increases every year. But no, I chose to fight it out. And like I said, that was the one regret. I don't have many regrets from football, but that was definitely the one regret. So with that being said, I think we're going to wrap the show up here. So once again, we like to thank Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way in Eau Claire. They got pizza. Don't jump in front of me. Do not jump in front of me.
Long-winded all the time.
Pizza Del Rey is a pizza buffet. They got frozen pizzas and what we say the best pizza in the state of Wisconsin.
Agreed.
Now it's your turn.
You sure?
Yes.
Raise my hand.
I'm not going to interrupt you. Go ahead.
All right. And of course, brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin. And if you guys want to order coffee, you know how to do that now. So
send an email to altoona@cabincoffee.net.
Tell me what you want. And, of course, you reach out. We have people doing that now. So
they're already doing it. Joe's shipping it out.
So if you want to be a part of the greatest coffee, freshest coffee you can get, email me.
I know it's really good coffee, but who's long-winded now?
Well, I'm trying to match words with you.
Well, I'm just saying.
I'm getting waterboarded with words over here all the time.
Well, sometimes truth hurts.
All right.
All right. See you guys next time.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Joe and I today. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you like what you heard, please give 217 South Mills a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Go tell your friends about us. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'd like to thank Cabin Coffee Altoona for sponsoring us. Everything is always better at the cabin. See you next time. And remember, folks, Red has to run.